The Creepypasta Iceberg Revisited. Sup y'all, Book of Alice here, or I also go by my real name, which is Ariel. Now, as to why I decided to choose the name Valis is a different story, involving a book and a guy named Philip K. Dick, and most probably don't even care. But for all those who are interested in this channel, I opened up a Discord and it's linked in the pinned comment. Now, this video is a sequel to my two other Creepypasta Iceberg videos, which did really well thanks to you guys. I really enjoyed making those two videos, so I decided to make a part 3, covering stories that I think I missed and others that I think should have been included or needed further elaboration. Creepypastas are a source of nostalgia to my childhood and to many others, so going off of that, I'm making a series on revisiting some old creepypasta stories in the near future. If you're interested to stick around, be sure to subscribe. Other than that, let's get into the video. Annie96 is typing. October 23, 2004, a text message conversation was sent to the FBI. The conversation was between a person named Annie and the other David. Both were texting each other late at night. Not unusual, as both stated that they were unable to sleep. The conversation itself was normal, up until Annie began saying that she was hearing sounds coming from her backyard. David warned Annie to stay safe and not to look outside, as she would risk being seen home alone by the possible intruder. Annie disregarded his comments and looked anyways, stating that she saw a man that resembled David digging a hole in her backyard. David replied quickly, stating that it was not him and that he was at his house. Annie didn't believe him, thinking it was a practical joke since he was wearing David's jacket with his name printed on the back. The man digging the hole proceeds to look back at Annie with a wide grin, starting towards her house. Not knowing what to do, Annie bolted towards her closet, armed with a knife, with David calling the police for her and frantically driving towards her place. As the man got closer, Annie began to state that the figure could just be her mind playing tricks on her, a figment of her imagination, telling David to forget about it. David, thinking that the situation was strange, still agreed. Annie proceeded to thank David for his nobleism, telling him that he could head over to her house the next morning. David, being skeptical of the messages, asked if Annie was the one who was truly responding, but that's when it showed that she was no longer online. Tiki Toby. Tiki Toby follows the same sort of teenage psycho killer plotline, similar to stories like Jeff the Killer and Eyeless Jack. The story revolves around a troubled teen boy who was bullied because of his Tourette syndrome and ADHD. After the death of his sister, Toby grew more and more troubled. His symptoms got worse, barely eating or leaving his room, and overall being less social, taking his stress out by chewing the flesh off of his hands and fingers. His father lost himself to drugs and alcohol and became abusive towards his family. Toby soon lost control of his sanity and one night attacked and killed his father. He fled the house, grabbing 2 of the hatchets in the garage and a box of matches and a gasoline can, and set the neighborhood on fire in the attempt to escape the local police. The fire soon surrounded him, and as he was about to give into his own death, Slender Man appeared and saved him before he blacked out. Toby woke up with no memory of his past life and soon became one of Slender Man's proxies. White with red. In this story, a man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the front desk gave him his key and told him that on his way to his room there was a door with no number that was locked and no one was allowed in there. However, the insistence of the woman had piqued his curiosity, so the next night he walked down the hallway and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. So he bent down and looked through the keyhole. What he saw was a hotel room like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was incredibly pale. The woman turned sharply and he jumped back from the door, hoping she would not suspect that he had been spying on her. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day he returned to the door and looked through the keyhole once again. This time, all he saw was redness. He couldn't make anything out besides a distinct red color. Unmoving, the next day the man confessed that he had looked through the keyhole to the lady at the front desk. She responded, saying, "Well, I might as well tell you the story of what happened in that room." A long time ago, a man murdered his wife there, and we find that even now, whoever stays there gets extremely uncomfortable. But these people, these beings that were seen in there were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were fully red. The Grifter. The Grifter is an alleged video that was first mentioned somewhere on 4chan's /X image board. Watching it is said to be a soul-rending experience, far more horrible than anything one could imagine. The few that have watched it are said to have been killed or felt sick to their stomach, with only one thing in common: a strange doll hidden somewhere inside their homes. If you watch until the end of the video, it shows a message reading, "The child, now a young man, is still alive and lives in a local shelter whose name was not given. He never spoke and is still in catatony." Luckily, my cousin Mudahar, also known by his name Some Ordinary Gamers, made a video covering this story. Apparently the video footage shown is not the original video and it's just either a recreation or just some art project, so no need to worry about being killed in your own home. The strangest security tape I have ever seen. Jeremy, a new hire at a gas station, is a pretty creepy guy. According to the author of the story, he acted very strange and had a creepy laugh. But everything going on in the shop was still regular, so he didn't mind. That is, until things began to go missing. Taking a look at the security footage only made things worse, as they discovered something truly horrifying, finding out that Jeremy is able to warp time and reality. The author of the story then gets stuck in one of Jeremy's time loops and struggles to break free. After, he searches where Jeremy lives but finds nothing but a burned down house. The author concludes, stating, "A new guy has just started, named Jeremy," reassuring readers that he is indeed stuck in a time loop forever. Barbie.avi. This story starts with the author finding an old computer outside of his home. He brings it inside and starts exploring through its files. Everything seems to be normal on the computer until he comes across the file titled Barbie.avi. The video was an hour long with horrendous quality, involving a woman being interviewed by an unknown person. The longer he watched, the more uncomfortable he felt, and the more uncomfortable the woman's face looked. At the end of the emotional climax, the video cuts to black and slowly shows a video of legs on a train track. The author recognized the distinct details of the track and knew that they were nearby, so he headed over there, finding an abandoned house and entering, until he heard a loud moan, which caused him to quickly leave the area. Not knowing what it was, he chalked it down to his imagination, but in reality it was totally something else. Mario. A member of SMW Central named Adam downloads an odd ROM hack of Super Mario World, simply titled Mario. Late one night, the game was attached with a document with the words, "Find me," repeated over and over amongst unreadable text. Playing the game, Adam noticed that the level names and text boxes suggested that Mario wasn't the hero, but in fact was the villain of the game. Adam describes that the game is a descent into a hill of Mario's own making, designed to look like Yoshi's Island. Adam claims that the experience and playing the hack are legit, but the other versions of the story that described paranormal things happening with his computer are fake. Dear son, this is why your favorite teddy bear disappeared. This story is told from the perspective of a father reminiscing about his son's childhood, specifically about a teddy bear that was gifted to his son at 6 months old. Though his son showed no interest in the teddy bear, as a baby he grew accustomed to its presence and ended up keeping it until he was 3 years old, throwing a fit when his father threatened to throw it away. Growing older, his father would notice that his kid would use the teddy bear to ask for things, and often it was shown with anger, hitting his father with the stuffed bear when he didn't get his way. Things started to get strange when his son was able to predict deaths occurring within the family, first predicting his grandfather's death in a tragic car accident, and then his own mother. When questioned where he got the information from, he would point towards his teddy bear. One night, the man awoke to his wife choking on the teddy bear. It was somehow stuck halfway down her throat, gasping for air until she slowly passed away, just as his son predicted. The story ends on a cliffhanger, revealing that the teddy bear was a guardian angel of some sort. Mr. Widemouth. In the creepypasta Mr. Widemouth, the narrator was diagnosed with mononucleosis, or otherwise known as the kissing disease, when they were 5 years old, meaning that they would have to be bedridden and housebound. The narrator met a small petite creature with a large mouth shortly after being diagnosed, and asked the creature if he had a name. The creature replied and said that his name was Mr. Widemouth. He then made comments on Mr. Widemouth's appearance by saying that he looked like a Furby toy. Mr. Widemouth was confused for a moment until the narrator explained what a Furby was, and Mr. Widemouth noted that a Furby could never compare or be the same thing as having an actual friend. Mr. Widemouth would hide under the narrator's bed, saying that he didn't want the narrator's parents to see him because he was afraid that they wouldn't allow him to play with the boy. Shortly after meeting Mr. Widemouth and spending a few days with him, and after the mother came to do her daily check-in, Mr. Widemouth wanted to guide the narrator to a small room at the end of the house's hallway. The narrator declined, but Mr. Widemouth persisted, so the boy followed. Once at the room, Mr. Widemouth opened a large window that was opposite of the doorway, and he beckoned the narrator to look out at the ground below. Mr. Widemouth told the narrator to pretend that there was a trampoline at the bottom of the two-story house, and if he imagined hard enough, he would bounce up as light as a feather, insisting that the narrator try. He declined, and Mr. Widemouth's face twisted into a snarl for a moment, before sliding underneath the narrator's bed, and staying there for the remainder of the day, making no noise. Years later, the narrator returned back to where the old house was. However, the house was nowhere to be seen, as it had burned down years after he had left. He decided to walk down the trail that Mr. Widemouth once told him that he was going to take them down, but he ended up at a memorial cemetery, where most of the tombstones belonged to young children. Mariana Mordgard Gliskorv. There is a video on YouTube named Mariana Mordgard Gliskorv. If you search this, you will find nothing. The few times you find something, all you will see is a 20-second video of a man staring intently at you, expressionless, and then grinning for the last 2 seconds. The background is undefined. The full video lasts 2 minutes and was removed by YouTube after 153 people who viewed the video gouged out their eyes and mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. Said people have also committed suicide in various ways. It is not yet known how they managed to mail their eyes after gouging them out. The cryptic inscription they carved out on their forearms has not yet been deciphered. YouTube will periodically put up the first 20 seconds of the video to quell suspicions so that people will not go and look for it. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who started screaming after 45 seconds. The man is now under constant sedation and is apparently unable to recall what he saw. The other people who were in the same room as him while he viewed the video and turned off the video for him say that they all heard the same high-pitched drilling sound. There are several versions of the video itself circulating the web. Some people claim to feel strange after watching it, but nothing bad comes of it. Luna Game. Luna Game refers to a series of short, simple video games from the My Little Pony franchise that appear to be simple platformers at first before locking up and presenting the player with creepy texts and images. This game features a custom Princess Luna sprite, which the player moves about in a simple platform area with upbeat music in the background. It seems normal at the start, but after about 20 to 30 seconds, regardless of how far Luna has progressed, the game suddenly stops, cutting to one of the two possible disturbing images, either a Zaglo image of Pinkie Pie or a menacing image of Apple Bloom, and 4 possible creepy songs from the show. The player will also find that they cannot close the game with the escape key or Alt F4. Gregory's Room. This story revolves around a university student recalling a past incident in his childhood that scarred him. The story starts, like many other people I know, am a 90s kid. I'm pretty sure even adults like those years too. Video games, simplicity, and good TV cartoons. So the dream of becoming a cartoon tester got me when I was just 6 years old. My parents accepted delightedly when I told them that I wanted to be one, and after all, it was a perfect job for someone my age. So when people came to my house to ask my parents, I was ecstatic for the opportunity. The story concludes stating, after a few days there were some news about parents suing Nickelodeon for inappropriate content shown. They even got as far as labeling the incident a show that was ultimately rejected due to a poor focus group result. My parents were so frightened that they didn't let me go near the place. We lived relatively close to Nickelodeon headquarters. This is what I saw.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello, I'm Gregory, and this is my room. We're going to have so much fun together, just the two of us. We can look at the stars together. We can read a book together. We can stare into the glorious flames of the fireplace together.
Faulty wiring. A strange case is brought up about an individual who is having problems with his electrical appliances, believing that it may be his outlets or simply faulty wiring. His washing machine would rattle and make random noises more than usual. He would hear what resembled a scratching on the walls, and there was no other complaints or incidents brought up before about the apartment, so it was unusual. On one instance, his power was cut, so he left to speak with the maintenance guy about the power outage. The maintenance guy ventured into his apartment, trying to find what was causing the issues. Unsettling enough, he came across a hidden spy camera behind his air conditioning unit. The wires connected to the camera would venture off to other vents, leading to the discovery of a plethora of hidden cameras within his apartment. Weeks after the discovery, the man's mother received a box at her doorstep, the new place where he would call home. It was unlabeled and contained missing items that he thought he had lost before in his apartment, containing an eerie message stating, "I like your new place much more better." Dear Abby. Dear Abby follows the story of a man named Jay who stalks a girl that goes by Abby. His love language is displayed in the creepiest fashion. The story itself is told as a series of letters in the first person, writing from the grocery store he worked at. Infatuated with Abby, he goes from stealing security camera footage of her to straight up spying on her every move. One of his letters reveals that he watches her as she sleeps, timing all her bathroom breaks. He finally breaks into her apartment and counts each individual hair on her brush and disposes of her makeup. Everything is going well for his creepy fantasy until he finds pictures of Abby and her boyfriend together. This infuriates him, destroying the photos, stating that he should be the only one for her. He decides to hide under her bed and waits until she gets home. After she goes to sleep, he slips out and touches her face. The morning after, she awakens to a letter left by him, stating that a gift was waiting for her in her own closet. What she finds unsettles her. Pictures of herself taken unknowingly, of her sleeping and on the computer alone. Other photos displayed her and Jay together on another couple's bodies. The last photo had her and her boyfriend's face scratched off, so she proceeded to contact the police and was told to leave the area. Anasis Goatman. This story follows a teenager who goes down to Alabama to be with his extended family. While he, his cousins, and their friends are camping out in the woods, they see a strange figure, the Goatman, jerking and spouting gibberish as it follows them. They spend the rest of the night in fear as the Goatman slowly infiltrates the group, terrorizing the teens into a frenzied state of paranoia. Super Mario 64 Damned. Super Mario 64 Damned follows a player that goes to his local game store and tries to get a Nintendo 64 and a few games for it. He is caught by surprise when the store owner gives him a free copy of Super Mario 64. Due to the complaints that they had gotten previously from the copy, he proceeds to take it home and play the game. But that's when the creepy events unfold. One scene depicting Mario with a noose around his neck. Anora Petrova. The story is in the form of an email, reading Bree. don't delete this. I know you hate me, but we were best friends once, and I need you to read this. I think I'm in serious trouble, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's been forever, but what happened to you wasn't my fault. It started when we were in 8th grade. It was the night before the Crystal Classic competition. I was at home, and I couldn't sleep because I was so nervous about competing. Well, I got on the computer, just sort of surfing the web and stuff, but I couldn't concentrate on anything. I was just sitting there, so I decided to Google myself. I never should have done that, Bree. At first, it was all the usual stuff you find when you Google yourself. Then I found a link to a Wikipedia page about me. I thought our club or my dad made it up or something. There wasn't much there, just some basic facts about me, what city I lived in, but the thing that got me was that it said that I had won the year's Crystal Classic competition. I laughed. I thought for sure someone just did it to encourage me. I confronted my dad about it, but he denied it. When I won the competition that day, I was so happy. That was the first competition I had ever won, and it felt so good. After that, Sarjay, my trainer, convinced my mom and dad that I had a real shot at the Olympics. That's when they pulled me from school, and ever since I've been skating. When the sectionals came, all I could think about was winning. So I did something I shouldn't have. Everyone was saying that you were the favorites, and I felt like I had already lost the competition. So I made a Wikipedia account and tried to update my page to say that I was the winner. The thing is that after I tried to update the page, I checked it, and all it said was, Anora Petrova is a selfish little bitch who is going to get what she deserves. I broke down. That's why I looked so awful that day. I was in a daze. I remember watching a routine and seeing your blade snap, and the next thing I know, I was on the ground and my face was covered in blood from where the tip flew off and sliced my forehead.